And yeah, so I just wanted to start by acknowledging that SFU Vancouver is located on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nations. And I gratefully and humbly make that acknowledgement in the context of our program's ongoing and evolving understanding of and commitment to urban decolonization. I'm joined tonight by our program manager, Brian Chand, who will be managing the chat, and Robin Chan, a recent graduate of our program, who will talk about her experience as an urban studies student and graduate. So tonight's session is going to start with me giving you an overview of our program. Then I'm going to turn things over to Robin, who will then speak about her experience in the program. And then there'll be plenty of time for questions after that, either live or over the chat. So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Just bear with me. Okay. All right, there we go. So here's an image of where our program is located at Harbourfront Center in downtown Vancouver. For those of you who are from Vancouver, the photo is looking north on Richard Streets towards Water Street. So as you know, the Waterfront Station is just across the street from us. We're very centrally located to SkyTrain buses and SeaBus and West Coast Express. All of our classes are in person and they take place at Harbour Center. Our program offers two credentials, a master's degree and a graduate diploma, and it's designed specifically for working professionals in that you can choose to study full-time, which is usually two courses a semester, or part-time, one course a semester, or as Robin will be telling you, you can do both, a mixture of both throughout your time in our program. And our courses are almost exclusively scheduled for the evenings, so for after work for most people. So I'll first talk a little bit about the master's degree. It's both course-based and research thesis-based. Students first take elective courses to give them grounding in critical issues in urban studies, and then they move to the thesis phase of their degree, where they first take courses in research methodology, and then another one to develop their thesis proposal, and then they move on to research and write an independently conceived thesis. Most of our students do their research on critical current issues pertaining to Metro Vancouver. Our program is really a locally based one. We like to say that Metro Vancouver is our program's laboratory, so to speak. But within the spatial container that that kind of limited spatial container, the possibilities for student research are really diverse. So you'll hear about Robin's research in a minute, but some of the most popular areas of student research are city building in topics like sustainability, housing gentrification, urban design and planning. Other students do research in the broad area of cities in transition, in topics concerning subjects like equity and inclusion, decolonization, climate change, arts and culture. Urban governance is also a very popular area in topics concerning subjects like regional and multi-level governance, environment and resilience, public participation, and urban neoliberalism. And we also always have a substantial minority of students who are interested in urban mobility. So transportation planning and policy, sustainable mobility, and the experience of mobility. So for those students who aren't ready to embark on a master's degree or who want to test the waters of our program, we also offer a graduate diploma, which is entirely course-based. But if you're in the graduate diploma program, you'll be taking courses with master's students. They take the same elective courses. Students who enroll in the diploma program and do well in their classes and decide that they'd like to pursue a master's degree have a merit-based opportunity to apply to transfer to the master's degree. And if they're successful, they can transfer all the credits that they did for their diploma into the master's degree. So you don't have to start over from scratch. I'd also like to say that recently, particularly in the last couple of years, our diploma graduates have had excellent success in leveraging the diploma credential into meaningful work in urban professions. I'm thinking particularly in local municipalities and also in nonprofit work. Our classes are small. They're generally smaller than the one that was pictured here, which was a special class with renowned University of Toronto housing specialist David Holchansky that happened a few years back. So usually there are 15 or fewer students. We approach urban studies in our classes from the social sciences, and our courses are broadly interdisciplinary and cover a wide variety of critical topics key to understanding cities today, including the topics that are listed on this slide. Overall, our curriculum is focused on the question of why cities are the way they are. Our courses are premised on the notion that answering this question is critical to urban leadership and for urban change. So, in other words, we offer a high-level approach to a breadth of urban issues suitable for those who aspire for high-impact, change-making roles in their career. We don't offer technical classes or a credential in planning. But I'd like to really emphasize to you that many of our students and graduates work in planning or are planners. And there are trajectories to get into planning through our program. It's a very stimulating classroom environment. Because many students bring their real life experience of grappling in some way with urban challenges to the classroom. So you've got a situation where these students who are maybe working day to day in certain urban issues meet faculty who bring the latest research and theoretical frameworks through which to understand these challenges. So this really creates a wonderful environment where applied and theoretical learning meet. And I would just like to say on a personal note that teaching in this program has been the most stimulating and most exciting teaching that I've done during my career. And it's because of that combination in our classrooms. Our faculty is composed of a group of scholars active in research in their fields. Our academic backgrounds are diverse. We are political scientists. We have backgrounds in geography, economics, gerontology, history. But for all of us, the city is our unit of analysis, and we're committed to interdisciplinarity as the best way to understand cities and to address their challenges. So that broad understanding from different lenses is really important for us. Along with our research faculty, we also now have 2 professors of practice, Andy Yan, whose high-profile urban data research many of you are probably familiar with from the local media, and Kamala Todd, who is a prominent Métis Cree urban planner who contributes critical perspectives on decolonization and Indigenous urbanism to our program. If you go to our website, you'll also see that we have a number of faculty associates from all over SFU, some of whom have taught in our program, and most of whom have supervised students' master's research. If you apply to our master's program, you're not required to secure a faculty supervisor for your research in order to gain admission. So that makes us different than a lot of graduate programs. In the second semester of your program, you will be assigned a supervisor based on a balloting process. And I should say that all of our faculty have experience supervising a wide range of student research, again, because of our commitment to interdisciplinarity and a broad-based urban studies education. We're well prepared to supervise all kinds of students who want to study all kinds of things. Our students are diverse. About half of them currently are international, coming from around the world and hoping to make their lives in our region. The other half are local, with many of them already working in some kind of urban field or wishing to pivot to one. Most of them have a bachelor's degree in the social sciences, which is the focus of our program. So fields like geography, political science, sociology, and so on. But those with backgrounds in the humanities like English and history, which is my background, and also students with backgrounds in the sciences and applied sciences, and especially engineering, have also found success in our program. Some of our students are freshly minted bachelor degree holders, but most of them have at least several years out of university and are generally kind of, we like to say, in the quarter career stage of their professional lives, and coming back to school to enhance their professional opportunities and to move into leadership roles. Students bring, as I said before, they bring their experience to their classroom as well as their passion for cities. So successful applicants to our cities, to our program, aren't just looking for a professional credential, although we totally understand why, that's an important reason and maybe the primary reason for many of our students to come back to graduate school to enhance their professional opportunities. But we really look for students in their applications to demonstrate their desire for an opportunity to learn about and research critical questions. So we're really looking for that intellectual curiosity and that passion to make cities better in students' applications in our applications to our program. Our graduates today, as we speak, we have about 300 graduates, most of whom are local and work throughout the Lower Mainland for municipalities, government agencies, nonprofits like Robin does, the development industry, and urban planning and design consultancies and firms. Some of our graduates are pretty high profile, like the former New Westminster Mayor Jonathan Cote, who is now Deputy General Manager, Regional Planning and Housing Development at Metro Vancouver, or Stephanie Allen, who is the Vice President of Strategic Business Operations and Performance at BC Housing, and one of the founders of the Hogan's Alley Society. So those are some of our more high-profile graduates. We also have others like Erin O'Mellon, who is the longtime executive director of Hub Cycling, the preeminent cycling advocacy organization in this region, who is now the senior manager, transportation and land use planning at TransLink. And Andre Isikoff, who is the director of Parks, Recreation, and Culture and Planning at the City of Burnaby. And both of them have had a transformative, positive effect on our region in terms of sustainable transportation and public space and programming. We like to talk kind of informally or in a joking way about an urban studies mafia that's starting to develop through the region. And it is a bit of a joke, but it's also kind of real. Like, I think that there's a real sense. I was talking to a graduate who graduated about 15 years ago, and she was talking about how she seeks out urban studies graduates because she knows that they share a kind of ethos, a kind of critical understanding of urban issues, this broad-based education. And she really values that and looks for it in people that she's employing and that kind of thing. So it's really a great network to be part of. Our alumni play formal and informal mentoring roles. For example, Jonathan Cote has taught the governance course for us in the past. And we always have at least one event where students can network with our alumni and get some professional development advice from them. So beyond our regular curriculum, we also have some special opportunities in our program. The first I would like to talk about is the Urban Innovation Lab, which has been running for the last few years, at the moment in conjunction with the City of New Westminster. In the future, we may be partnering with other municipalities. And what we do in this course is it's an effort to co-create with municipal partners an experiential learning opportunity for students, instructors, and the partners. Exploring critical issues that the municipalities don't otherwise have the bandwidth or staff to deal with, and to come up with innovative solutions working together. So it's a really extraordinary opportunity. And it's been a very positive experience for our students and the City of New Westminster at like. And it gives students, particularly those who don't have a lot of urban professional experience yet, access to city staff and the working of local government. So it's a really outstanding opportunity. The other one that I'd like to kind of highlight is our Helsinki Field School. This is a very popular ongoing 2-week field travel program in the Helsinki region of Finland that's generally held in early August, which focuses on comparative urban sustainability. When students go to Finland, the travel includes multiple field tours and site visits in the city, meetings with diverse sustainability experts, visits to cultural and historical sites, and experiences with locals in the coastal environment of the Helsinki region. And as you can see from this this image, people are really stoked about the Helsinki experience. It's a really tremendous opportunity to both connect with your cohort and to learn about sustainability from a comparative perspective. We also schedule an annual field trip, which is a wonderful opportunity to get out of town with fellow students and our faculty and to experience other urban environments. And we have done this from probably our most ambitious one was the one in 2018 to Mexico City, which was actually a largely student organized one. So you have these opportunities within our program to get involved. And then we had a less ambitious one last year to Victoria, as we were sort of getting going with the field school again after the pandemic. We're hoping this year that we will have a early summer field trip to Montreal, based on some partnerships that our faculty have been building with INRS, which is the research university that has a very active urban studies faculty in Montreal. Other opportunities include student initiatives. So you have opportunities to initiate, organize events on your own, like this student research housing symposium last year that was initiated by our students. It brought together students and scholars from across the university, as well as the public, for a really successful day-long event last fall. So there are opportunities like that if you've got the time and initiative. And there's also lots of networking opportunities. And I just wanted to let you know about this one that's happening on October 28th, an Urbanarium City Talk that's going to feature Andy Yan and Kamala Todd, two of our faculty members, interviewing Josh White, the new lead head planner at the City of Vancouver. This should be a great networking opportunity, and we maybe can put the link to this event in the chat, and you could sort of see some of our faculty and students in action. There'll be some student volunteers there. As for applying for the program, January 15th is our deadline. You need to, the admissions committee assesses applications based on your students' on the applicant's academic record, their urban experience, their statement of interest, and their references. And as I said before, the best applicants demonstrate in their statement of interest their intellectual curiosity and real passionate desire to address an urban issue they have observed, experienced, or worked on. My last slide, and we will go to questions after Robin talks tonight, but I just wanted to let you know that if you're interested in applying and want to know more, you can peruse our website, which has lots of additional information about our program and the application process. There's something called the snapshot of urban studies on our website, which might be really that might be especially useful to you, you can feel free to email Brian at urban@sfu.ca for further information. Yeah, and as I said, we'll get to questions in a few minutes, but before that, I'm going to stop screen sharing here. I'll stop my share. And I'm going to open things up. I'm going to turn things over to Robin Chan, who graduated from our program last year. Robin is currently project manager for Replan in the Falls Creek South Community Housing Trust. Her previous work includes sustainability strategy and place-based neighborhood engagement at various nonprofits in Vancouver. She wrote a great thesis, which I supervised, on the Falls Creek South Neighborhood Association's and its successful activism against the City of Vancouver's recent redevelopment plans for this neighborhood. And she's now involved in her professionally in reimagining this neighborhood in a more socially sustainable vision. So I'm going to turn it over to Robin, and she can tell you a little bit about her experience in our program. So take it away, Robin.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me tonight. Like Karen said, my name's Robin. It's been almost a year since I defended, which is kind of hard to believe. I'm going to go through, Karen has asked me to talk a little bit about why urban studies, how I found kind of the research process, and how that went, and then a little bit more about the professional and personal development. And then I'll stick around for questions until 6:30. So I started the urban studies program in January of 2020. I had finished my BA in political science about 10 years before. So I did take quite a gap between finishing my BA and doing my master's. And I was working in kind of social sustainability, neighborhood level engagement around the city of Vancouver for a nonprofit and really getting interested in urban issues, which I didn't really think of before, honestly. And so looking to, like Karen said, increase my education, kind of make myself a little bit more employable. I was looking at graduate programs and like many people, I'm sure, narrowed it down to SCARP at UBC, the Planning School, and Urban Studies. Um, I was really drawn to urban studies because I was really interested in the courses. I'm much more of a social scientist than someone who wants to do any technical planning work. So that was really interesting to me. Um, I also had, at the time, my son was 2. Um, so taking 2 years off to do full-time planning school was not in the cards. So I really liked that urban studies is almost all evening classes except some field trips. Um, you can do the part-time and full-time, and then the location was a big one for me. I was not interested in going to Burnaby Mountain or out to UBC once or twice a week. So being able to go downtown on the SkyTrain was amazing. But I also was really looking at the course selection and what was available and thought that a lot of it fit my needs really well. So I applied. I originally applied into the graduate diploma program, which Karen mentioned, and then eventually transferred to the master's program. I would say if you're questioning which one and you're not sure, um, I think you can apply to both. But I really had imposter syndrome, and that's why I applied to the graduate program. I did not think that I could do a master's. And then within a month of my first semester knew that I wanted to transfer and what I wanted to research. So definitely if you're interested or curious, talk with Brian or talk with Karen. But I would recommend going for the master's program. I think everyone, no one should have had imposter syndrome. And I really, really am glad that I did the full program. Um, and then getting into kind of how the program went for me, I would say the ability to tailor what I was interested in researching for my thesis through my coursework was so valuable. I knew that I wanted to research the neighborhood of Falls Creek South. That's where I live and that's where I work. And with the support of the faculty and professors, I was able to, as I took courses, kind of tailor all of the assignments and research within those courses to basically support my future thesis work. Um, so taking classes on sustainable development and taking classes on the history of development and planning in Vancouver. I took a urban history course. I was able to kind of shape everything so that when it came time to actually do my thesis work at the end of the program, I had probably 60% of my source material already available. I knew how I wanted to shape it. So that was amazing. And the faculty was super supportive. Um, I also recommend the master's track program if you're thinking about that one, because I found I had pretty good success with good funding through the program. Urban Studies, Karen didn't mention this, but Urban Studies has a really good fellowship program where you can actually get some funding through the different semesters to help support your research while you're doing that and working. Um, and there's some external grants through other programs and like nationally as well that are great opportunities. And that's something that if you're in the diploma program, you don't have access to. Um, what else? Oh, I also want to talk about Karen talked about the students and being supportive of each other. It is a very close-knit program, and there's so much opportunity either within courses through work that you're doing or events outside to be able to connect with your student or your fellow students. I really found we were like a little cohort that kind of moved through the programs together. Um, and that was so valuable because as it came to the end of our research, and I have friends that are still finishing their research now, it was so supportive. We were able to really help each other, like having WhatsApp groups and messaging each other about like what stage of our research we're at or helping with assignments and things. So I've definitely made friendships now that I know will like last through my adult life because we went through the program and you just find people who are interested in kind of the same things that you are. Um, and then professionally, I guess for the final bit, so I was working in nonprofits before I started the program. Um, and then actually ended up working at UBC and then now back in my neighborhood of Falls Creek South. And having gone through the urban studies program, I know that I'm a better critical thinker. I work in policy kind of right now and housing and being able to draw on my urban studies coursework has been so important to know what bigger trends are going on, like about literature and other things that are happening around the world through courses, but then also to be able to kind of link theories and policies together critically has been incredible. Um, it's also helped. I worked, like I said, at UBC and to be able to, um, I guess, what am I trying to say? To be able to understand current challenges um, that are being faced within a very specific municipal context at UBC um, was very helpful. It's a city-esque place, and I found even though I hadn't finished the program yet, I was writing my thesis while I was there. It was really critical to my job to be able to draw on those experiences and courses. Um, and I think that's it. I really can't say enough about the program. I think in terms of having access to really incredible faculty who are, on the ground researching things, to have access to the field trips that we do, um, and even just like in courses, going out and walking around and using the city as your classroom, was amazing. Um, and like Karen said, the networking and the ability to draw on urban studies alumni is incredible. I will be at that city making event with Josh White if anyone goes and wants to say hi and ask questions. Um, so that I know will continue to be valuable. Oh, here's my cat. For years. So yeah, I can't say enough about what I got out of the program personally and professionally. That's all.
Thank you very much, Robin, for that endorsement. All right, so we'll open up for questions now. Are there any questions in the chat? It doesn't look like there are quite yet. Does anybody have any questions? Maybe while we're waiting for that, I just wanted to mention to you,
That's one question there, Karen. Sorry, from Munetsi.
okay, all right, I
She
see.
has her hand up there. Sorry. Um,
Okay, I can't see the hands here.
okay. Go ahead, Munatsi. If
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to know for the student-led kind of symposiums or things like that, is there specific funding from the department for that, or would that be student funded?
so the funding for the housing symposium that came last year, that came out of some funding that our two colleagues, Yushu Zhu and Meg Holden had from they've been studying through community housing in Canada. There's a big kind of national consortium of scholars working on that. So that funding, some of the seed funding for that came from that grant, but we also helped to fund that. The program did. We do have funds for that.
Okay.
And yeah, so it was kind of like funding beget funding. And I think that I wasn't too involved in the organization of that, but I do believe that Yushu Zhu especially was very helpful for the students in finding pockets of money around the university that they could get their hands on. And the other thing is there's a graduate student society at SFU too, which has funding for those kinds of initiatives as well.
Okay. And that would be the same for the field school?
Oh, the field school. So the field school, you have to pay for that.
Okay.
But the field trip, which is shorter, it's usually a few days, we do subsidize that for students.
Okay.
So I believe last year we were giving, what was it, Brian, students up to $500, was it? Or
yeah, exactly, $500.
yeah, up to $500 for the trip. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I see a bunch of questions coming up in the chat here. Let's see here. I'll go up to the top. Okay. So is Gurkirat, so I don't know what your specific question is about the real estate development niche, but I wouldn't say that that is a strength of ours. So there's a real division between urban studies and like scholars working in what they would call urban studies scholarship and the more real estate or real estate economics sector. So most of that kind of education happens in business school. So you can learn about real estate development, but it's usually from a kind of critical perspective in urban studies, rather than, teaching you how to be in the real estate development field or to be a real estate development professional. That being said, we do have students, we have a small but significant number of students who have found their way into that sector and have been successful in it. For those out of school for a while, 2 academic references might be a slight challenge. Any advice? Great question. Okay, so make sure you have at least one, okay? Also, don't feel too hesitant about especially if you did really well in a particular class and your prof is still like, Google them, and if they're still still at the place you studied at before or even at a different university, just get in touch with them and say, listen, I'm in a bit of a jam here. I need these academic references. I don't know if you remember me. I got a good mark in your class. Would you be able to write me a reference? So you can, and I don't think you shouldn't, like the imposter syndrome kind of thing that Robin says, don't be shy about doing that, because I do get those questions and I do say yes. I say no when the student didn't do very well and there's just nothing for me to say. But if I can kind of have a bit of an email exchange and they send me their CV and they talk about what they learned from me, I can cobble something together. The other thing is, think more broadly about academic references. So, for example, say you did a continuing education workshop or like a series, like some kind of series of like some kind of training or something that had a little bit of an academic component to it, you could ask that instructor as well. So yeah, so you can be a bit creative with that. Jess, there's a lot of lot of applicants who ask this question, but I do think, yeah, just at least like have one solid academic one and then try to get sort of an academic like one if you can't get another one that's, as adjacent as you can. And that can often work for applicants. Okay, so ML, I think you're asking sort of a similar question to Jess. A professional reference for you, yes, a professional reference would be really important. So that's another thing. Like we are, yeah. So the professional reference for us is also very important. So for somebody like you, I would definitely get somebody who will write you a good professional reference. Reference letters are very unusual for a lot of people working in a lot of fields. Like they're not used to doing them. So I have received, we have received very weak professional references, like, Karen gets to work on time and she's very reliable. Like that's not what we really want to see here. It's, like really getting into like how, your analytical skills, your initiative, your potential for research, if that's an element of your job. So a really good professional reference can be really excellent. And then again, if you're feeling like your academic references aren't as strong or you're a little less confident about them, that can really help you a lot. And I also want to just say that for those of you who don't have that professional experience, but maybe you have volunteer experience, you've been leading like an urban garden project or something like that, a community garden project. I'm trying to think of other things like other places where you have shown some interest and activity in urban affairs, like broadly defined. Get somebody from that, some associate from that activity to help you to write you a letter. You can start the diploma. Kuljit, you've got your question about the diploma program. We all of our students start in September. We have one intake in September, and the reason for that, we used to have two, is because the students are on different tracks. Like some people are part-time, sometimes they're full-time. Many of our students are coming from outside of Canada. We found that students succeed better if they start together. So they may not go through the whole program together, but that first semester together is really important, as begin like all starting together. So yeah, so for except for some really unique circumstances, we don't allow students to start the program except in September.
I think Kuljit was asking about the requirements for the diploma program. Kuljit's in first year social sciences, so I'm assuming they're in.
Oh, when can you start it? Oh, when can you start? So
Yeah,
we have so we that you need to have you for both programs you need to have a bachelor's degree. One thing I haven't talked about today is there is an accelerated master's program for those who are in their upper division classes in at SFU in their bachelor's program. There is a potential to apply some of your upper division classes to the master's program, but that does not exist for the diploma. So you need to have a bachelor's degree for both the diploma and the master's degree. Yeah, so Gurkirat, no, the MCIP accreditation is not, I don't believe it would be available via an exam after graduating. Um,
the next question is from Tarang. Uh,
okay.
and Tarang is asking if the master's program offers enough insight and knowledge relevant to urban and peri-urban spaces in emerging economies like India.
Yeah, so we don't, so Trang, I would say that this is probably not the program for you in that respect. We do are we're a very small program for now, although we are growing, and we're really pretty focused on North American urbanism. So that's we're starting to maybe make some partnerships with the International Studies program at SFU, which is also housed at the Burnaby campus, but those are very preliminary, and we just don't have the curriculum, I don't think, for the kind of urban studies that you wish to do. So I'm sorry about that, but yeah, it's a pretty North American based curriculum for now.
Next question is from ML, asking about the time commitment per week per course.
Yeah, well, maybe Robin, you could answer this better than I can. I have a stock answer that I give students sometimes, but I'm not sure how accurate it is. So what would you say what the time commitment is? And I would say that it also, like, you have to think about the, there's a cycle in the semester. So, there's periods of the semester that are more work intensive than others. But anyway, Robin, maybe you could answer this question.
Yeah, it's hard to put it into out. I would say most of the classes are pretty reading um, heavy. Um, so I probably spent at least a few hours a week just reading. So if I was doing what I would did part-time courses sometimes, and sometimes I did full-time, and I would probably spend 2 to 3 hours a week for each course, reading, depending on how many articles you have and things. And that was um, to really make sure I understood everything. And then, like Karen said, there are times when you're writing or when you're, working on assignments or what have you, and that will be more. I know, I think the website says 10 hours a week per class plus class time, something like that. I would say that might be a bit high, but I definitely spent 5 to 6 hours a week per course most weeks, sometimes more, sometimes less. Um, I also, by the end of the program, had 2 kids and a full-time job. So it is doable, but it definitely takes, if you're full-time, being good with managing your time.
Yeah, yeah. All right, thank you. That's great. Um, okay.
There's a question from Chris and a similar question from let me just scroll up from another student in a different area. So someone from a BBA sort of background,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
and someone from different backgrounds, how they and
Right.
pivot
Yeah, yeah.
into this, how they.
So I see the BBA and then I see the BCIT. Let's see, there's a specific a BTech from BCIT. Okay, so yeah, so these are really good, great questions. So students who have not had like social science based um, backgrounds in their bachelor's programs, we sometimes they so we're going to really look at your like at your statement of interest and your academic your academic references, and particularly looking at your research and writing skills, like references to those. And if and often and there well, I would say there's sometimes when you have come from a more technical background or a background that is quite different than the academic focus of our program, we might be very interested in you, but we might offer you the admission to the diploma just to make sure that it's a good fit, right? And if you excel in your classes, then you can make that transfer. So it's an opportunity to make that pivot. It's not an automatic opportunity, but there is an opportunity to get into a master's degree, which might not be available otherwise. Um, but there is also a chance that you'll get into the program straight off, depending on your professional experience, depending on how those academic references talk about some of the really important skills of like research and writing. Um, yeah, and I would definitely not count yourself out. Like if you're making, I think somebody said, I think it's Prabraj, you're talking about wanting to pivot. Don't sell yourself short. Like even if you're thinking, okay, I don't really have that kind of background. If you've got a good, knowledgeable, well-written statement of interest that connects to some of the stuff that we're interested in our program, we will really take a serious look at your application. And if we like what we see, we will either admit you right into the master's program, or we might offer you the diploma to start off with. Okay, is there any criminology and you have a degree in criminology and from SFU. Yeah, I think so what's the job going to look like? I'm not sure, Earl. It's going to be what you make of it, I think. I guess we have had students, I'm not sure how many students we've had with criminology backgrounds, but I can imagine that combination could be quite interesting to an employer because of, because of some of the urban issues, urban problems that exist in Vancouver today. So I can't give you a specific job that you're going to land after this, but I could imagine jobs for municipalities, for nonprofits. I have a student right now working for the Hastings Crossing BIA, on a research project on the Hastings Crossing BIA, which is a BIA that's looking at social innovation as a way to as a kind of bridge between the community, the street community in the downtown east side, and the business community in the downtown east side. And I can imagine that someone with a criminology degree and an urban studies degree might have something really important, a kind of consultative role for an organization like that. So those are the kinds of things. We've got, there's a vast variety, as I've learned, of urban related careers in this region. Yeah, but I'm sorry, I can't point you to where you're going to end up if you have that combination. So Jess, yeah, I mean there is a little bit of you can apply to both. Um, we do occasionally, if we're very interested in a master's applicant, but we don't think that they're quite ready for the master's degree program, or it would be good for them to test out our program and for us to see what they're all about. Then we often will offer that student the diploma instead of the master's degree. So the diploma program would set you up for, and this is Kuljit's question about taking what the diploma could set you up for. So it definitely, our students with diploma program are definitely getting jobs in the lower ranks of the planning profession in municipalities. So that's the case. We've also had a couple of students working with some community development nonprofits. And yeah, so those are the main places for now that I know of diploma students getting work. At the moment, cities are really looking for people to work. There's staff shortages in cities, and so so diploma students have had more opportunities in recent years than they would have in the past. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the application, so those 10 keywords, don't sweat those too much. The big on the application, for the application process, the big thing that we're looking for is the statement, the statement of interest, which is where you're going to kind of give us a bit of a sense of yourself and what you'd like to research, especially if you're applying to the master's degree. So there we're looking for, kind of a level of engagement with the issue, like what you already know about it and why you think it's an important or critical issue to study. We're also looking for, excuse me, um, a little bit about you and your background. So, if you've been out of school for a long time, let us know that, and then what you've been doing in the meantime, and how that's led you to an interest in urban studies. So we're really looking for that passion. Like, what is your urban passion? What is the problem or issue in the city that you really want to address? And if there's more than one, you can mention those too. But yeah, that's what we're looking for. In the statement of interest. Yes. So Prob asks about the no that we don't offer credential in planning. Many of our students have gotten work in planning without a credential, without being a certified planner. Um, and some of them go ahead and get it, and some of them don't, depending, because some students find that they just don't need it in their jobs. The ones who get them, they do it largely through a route that is mainly experience-based. So they get a job in planning, and their employer says, okay, you need to get, within X number of years, you need to get your planning credential. And generally that's mostly achieved through job experience. So there's a couple of channels to getting a planning credential, and that's one of them. It may also involve some coursework, but nothing like coming, having to go to SCARP or something like that. So they're credentialed largely through their experience. Okay. Have I missed anything else here? Robin, do you remember what you wrote on your statement of interest when you applied to the program?
No, I was just trying to see if I could find out who my references were. I don't even remember. Um, I'm sure I wrote I was working in placemaking, and uh, through that ran into like all the city rules about how people are able to use public space or not. And so I'm sure I wrote about who's allowed in public space, and um, yeah, how cities were built and zoned, which I didn't end up really writing about at all, but certainly helped inform early courses that I took.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're sort of talking about the problem that you're interested in coming out of experience. Um, yeah, I see there's a question about technical skills. No, we do not offer, we're not a technical program. And also that question about planning credentials by doing a graduate diploma. That, no, we don't do that either. And I would suggest that if you want planning credentials through something like a diploma, that you actually go to go to the Langara like planning tech program. I think that might be what you're looking for. So yeah, so the I don't believe that the diploma will contribute to a planning credential, but I could be wrong about that, but I don't believe it does. How does our program differ from SCARP? Well, I don't know. I don't really actually know that much about the SCARP curriculum, except that it is a credentialed planning program. We're giving you a broader based education than most planning schools. And then paradoxically, compared to SCARP, also, I think we're giving a less theoretical education. There is a lot of theory, planning theory at SCARP. Um, we're a very place-based program, focused, and you will get some theory, like important planning theory, but we don't, we're really focused on the real world problems and issues, especially in our local region. So we don't offer the technical programs. We don't offer very theoretical courses. What we do offer is a broad-based critical education in urban issues that I said sort of prepare people for change making, decision making roles. That's what our mandate is, our mission is. I don't know, Robin, do you have anything that you wanted to add to that answer?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people who have gone to SCARP, and I think it is lacking that the hands-on piece, although I think they're getting better. I know a lot of people who found it a little old school in how it teaches planning, in terms of like a lot of those critical questions that people are asking about cities and who cities should be providing for and all of those really important questions. Um, Although I know that the, a lot of faculty are working to try and shift that, but I know it's been a common critique of the program is um, that it is old school and it is very technical focused. So it is like about those specific zoning and ArcGIS and AutoCAD things and less about the who are cities for and how can we make them better. Um, And a major point, depending on your own situation, is that SCARP is 2 years of full-time study. So generally, people are not working while they're doing SCARP, whereas urban studies, most people are working at least part-time, and many are working full-time. So that's important to consider too.
I think also just to mention as well, this broader based education prepares you for more careers. So yes, you will receive a planning credential, but like I said, we're kind of our graduates are all over the place in terms of the work that they've found. So there's a breadth rather than a narrowness to our education. Okay, I think we're just about at 6:30 here. So I'm going to end with one slide, which is I noticed there was a question earlier about our November 6th info session. You're very welcome to come, but it's going to be exactly the same presentation as this one. But if you want to come to another event, I would really, and you're interested in, sorry, I'm just having trouble doing two things at once here. Uh, all right. Um, if you want, oh, sorry. Now ugh, sorry about this, guys. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Okay, and just do it again here. Okay, sorry. Oh, that's not good. We're going to have an open house on November 21st. Sorry, here it's just going to come down to the slide so you can see it. Um, so this is you can come and meet us in person. It's in the 2100 suite of Harbor Center, 515 West Hastings Street. Uh, um, you can just show up 5:30 to 7 on Thursday, the November 21st. And there's going to be light refreshments and giveaways. So we'll have that should be fun. You can meet current students, you can meet faculty, and ask more questions about our program. And just remember, if we didn't answer one of your questions tonight, you can email Brian at urban@sfu.ca and he can answer it or direct your question to somebody who can. So I'd like to really thank everybody for showing up tonight, and I hope to see everyone's application in January. So I hope you have a good evening, and thanks very much for coming. Good night.